You could have the loudest exhaust in the block, a fresh set of leathers, and a beautiful bike, but none of that matters if you're making rookie riding mistakes. These little slip-ups are easy to spot and even easier to fix once you know what to look for. Some of these are dead giveaways that you're new to the game, or worse, that you never learned the right way in the first place. Today, we're going to break down 10 things that make you look like a total rookie on two wheels and how to fix them fast. 10. Duck walking at every stop. One of the most common giveaways that a rider is still learning, or just not entirely comfortable, is what's often called duck walking. That's when someone uses their feet to paddle the bike forward at slow speeds, especially when pulling into a parking lot or inching up in traffic. It looks awkward and unbalanced and completely undermines the fluid motion that defines skilled riding. More importantly, it's unnecessary. Low-speed maneuvering is all about clutch control, throttle finesse, and balance. When you rely too much on your feet, you're not giving yourself the chance to develop that essential skill set. Instead, work on feathering the clutch and using a bit of rear brake to steady the bike at walking pace. It's not just about looking better, it's about actually riding the bike, not walking it. The more you practice that balance, the more natural it'll become. But if you think duck walking makes a rider look unsure, there's something even more obvious, especially when it's accompanied by a loud, attention-grabbing engine. Before we continue, if you want to see more of our videos, hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the notification bell. 9. Rev bombing for no reason. Nothing screams trying too hard like unnecessary rev bombing. Whether it's at a red light, in a parking lot, or just sitting in neutral, twisting the throttle for no reason doesn't come off as confident. It comes off as desperate for attention. Sure, maybe you love the sound of your exhaust, but randomly spiking your RPMs isn't doing you any favors. It's one thing to give a slight throttle blip for mechanical reasons, like downshifting or warming up the bike, but constantly cracking the throttle just to make noise? That draws the wrong kind of attention. It suggests you're not in full control of the machine, or worse, that you're relying on noise instead of skill to get noticed. And here's the irony. Seasoned riders almost never do it unless there's a real purpose. Controlled throttle use signals maturity. If you want to sound good, ride well, your skills will speak louder than any rev bomb. Of course, not all rookie mistakes are loud. Some are subtle, like this next one. 8. Feet down too early or too late. Timing matters, and few things look more awkward than a rider sticking both feet out way too early before coming to a stop. It throws off the bike's balance, shifts your weight awkwardly, and makes it look like you're bracing for impact, not finishing a controlled stop. On the flip side, waiting too long and scrambling to plant your foot can make it look like you're about to tip over. There's a natural flow to coming to a stop. Maintain balance as you roll in. Gently squeeze the front brake, and only when the bike is nearly stopped do you drop one foot down, typically the left, while keeping the right foot on the rear brake. That technique gives you added control and poise, especially at intersections or stop signs. It's a small detail, but one that speaks volumes about your riding comfort and awareness. But if you think this minor detail draws a lot of attention, wait for this next one. 7. Riding in the wrong lane position. Your lane position might seem like a minor detail, but it says a lot about how comfortable and aware you are on the road. Hugging the far right like you're glued to the curb, sitting dead center in the middle of the lane, or weaving back and forth without purpose, these are clear signs of inexperience. They make it seem like you're reacting to the road rather than reading it. Experienced riders choose their lane position with intent. Riding in the third left of the lane gives you a better view of traffic ahead and makes you more visible to oncoming drivers. Shifting to the right might make sense in certain turns or when preparing for a right-hand exit, but you should always know why you are in the lane. Random indecisive positioning shows a lack of planning, and in traffic, that can be dangerous. Keeping a thoughtful position not only makes you look more confident, but also helps keep you safer by maximizing visibility and reaction time. And speaking of visibility, this next rookie mistake is so obvious that it makes people avoid you. 6. Looking down instead of through the turn. It's one of the oldest lessons in riding, and still one of the most ignored. Look where you want to go. Newer riders often fall into the trap of looking straight down at the road in front of their tire, especially when navigating corners. It's an instinctive reaction. When you feel uncertain, you want to keep your eyes on what's immediately ahead. But that habit will work against you every time. When you fixate on the road right in front of you, you lose perspective. Your turns become stiff, your body positioning suffers, and your lines through corners start to fall apart. Looking through the turn, keeping your head up and eyes locked on your exit point helps the entire bike follow a smoother, more controlled arc. This one change in focus can completely transform your cornering. You'll feel more stable, you'll lean with more confidence, and you'll avoid overcorrecting mid-turn. But even with your eyes in the right place, you'll still look like a rookie if you do this next thing. I hope you're enjoying the video. Take a moment to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. 5. Overusing the rear brake. There's nothing wrong with using the rear brake. In fact, when used properly, it adds stability, especially during low-speed maneuvers or when riding two up. But when the rear becomes your main brake, that's where the problems start. It usually shows up as abrupt stops, skidding, or a constant choppy feel at intersections. A balanced stop should be smooth and controlled, led by progressive front brake pressure with the rear acting as subtle support. Overusing the rear shows you're afraid of grabbing the front lever too hard. Learn to trust the front brake and use both in harmony. This changes everything. And if you've mastered your braking but still find yourself stalling out in traffic, well, that's where we're headed next. 4. Stalling at intersections. There's a particular kind of silence that follows when someone stalls their bike at a red light. It's brief, awkward, and always draws attention. Whether it's from letting the clutch out too fast, not giving enough throttle, or simply being nervous in the moment, it's one of those rookie mistakes that leaves a lasting impression. But stalling isn't just a mechanical issue, it's often mental. Riders tense up under pressure, especially with cars behind them, and start rushing their inputs. The result is a sudden lurch forward. The engine chokes and the bike dies right in front of a crowd of unimpressed drivers. The fix isn't complicated, but it does take practice. Find that friction zone. Get familiar with the feel of your bike's clutch and throttle working together. It will help you a lot. And while stalling is usually a short moment, there's another mistake that drags on and wears down your ride far more than you might think. 3. Riding the clutch. Hovering on the edge of the friction zone longer than necessary, also known as riding the clutch, is something newer riders often do without realizing. You'll see it when someone keeps the clutch partially pulled in while coasting, creeping through traffic, or even mid-turn. The problem is, it puts extra wear on the clutch plates and makes throttle control inconsistent. It usually starts as a safety blanket. Staying half engaged gives riders a feeling of control. But in reality, it creates sloppier riding habits. Throttle inputs become vague, the bike feels sluggish, and instead of rolling through traffic with precision, you end up wobbling through it. Getting out of this habit means committing to fully engage or disengaging the clutch when the moment calls for it. At low speeds, you can still feather it when needed, but the key is doing it deliberately, not as a default. Clean clutch work not only makes your riding smoother, it makes everything else feel sharper too. And while we're on the subject of control, this next mistake reveals more about your skill than you might think. 2. Riding with arms locked out. It's easy to spot a rider with arms stiff, elbows locked, and shoulders tense, almost like they're bracing for impact. Not only does it make the ride look rigid, it feels rigid too. This mistake often comes from nervous energy or a misunderstanding of control. Riders think gripping the bars tighter gives them more stability, but the opposite is true. A loose, relaxed upper body with slightly bent elbows allows the bike to respond better to changes in the road. You steer more fluidly, absorb more bumps naturally, and avoid the dreaded death grip that tires you out fast. Confidence shows in how relaxed you are. Letting your body flow with the bike, not fight against it, is what separates the uptight from the experienced. Now, even if your posture is on point, there's one last mistake that still stands out, especially when you're coming to a stop. 1. Putting the right foot down at stops. It's a small detail, but for anyone who knows what they're looking at, it sticks out immediately. Pull up to a stop and put your right foot down instead of your left, and to an experienced eye, it sends a clear message. This rider either hasn't been taught proper technique or hasn't practiced enough to make it second nature. Why does it matter? Because keeping your right foot on the rear brake while stopped, especially on an incline, gives you better control. It prevents rollback, keeps the bike steady, and frees your throttle hand to get moving again cleanly. Dropping the right foot means you're likely off the rear brake entirely, relying solely on the front, which can lead to unwanted movement or less stable takeoffs. It might not be something most people notice, but for riders who know, it's one of the quietest signs of experience. Which one of these mistakes are you guilty of? And which one do you often spot riders doing? Tell us in the comments. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to stay up to date with our latest posts.